It's pretty common knowledge at this point that ever since Avengers Endgame, the MCU has been in a steep decline. They've leapfrogged from one failure to another, and while there's been momentary successes like No Way Home, they had yet to create a dam that could hold this never-ending river of scum and shit.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
The failures kept stacking, the losses at the box office were growing, and reviews tanked. So there's always a question if the heads of Disney were ever going to give up or change their minds. But finally, they found it. The last hope in their arsenal. The bottom of the fandom barrel. One character that had not yet been destroyed. One man that could turn the MCU on its head and mock it for the failure it had become.
I am Marvel Jesus.
Deadpool and Wolverine is definitely what the fans have been wanting for years. A funny, irreverent movie with more cameos and references than Saddam Hussein had wives. Deadpool's back and he's funny, meta, slapstick, and he's turned the violent humor up to 11. The action plays to the same style the Deadpool movies have in the past. Lots of killing montages and slow motion with innocent 80s tunes in the background. The fights with Wolverine were great. Hugh Jackman slips right back into the role like putting on an old pair of shoes, even though the script doesn't always give him a lot to work with. Ryan Reynolds as well has Deadpool down at this point, and it's pretty obvious the cast had a lot of fun making this movie. It was clear from the trailer that Deadpool was going to do some much needed mockery of Disney, but I was pretty surprised by how far they went with it. From jokes about the woke mob to the current state of Disney and the broken, mangled corpse of the multiverse, it really doesn't pull any punches. And ultimately, that's what this movie is about. The overall story serves as a pretty on-the-nose metaphor for how poorly Disney has treated its acquirement of Fox and all of its characters. It finally gives them that final send-off that they may have deserved. And man, did they really take advantage of the multiverse idea and get as many cameos as they can in there. I don't want to spoil it, but some of the cameos are pretty surprising. It's difficult to judge them for it since the writers make it clear that they're aware of this and essentially mock the very idea of a multiverse as one big attempt at fan service. So I guess the question is Deadpool and Wolverine good enough to save the franchise? Well, it's definitely not a perfect film. The plot felt kind of muddled for long stretches of the film where Deadpool's just quipping at Wolverine constantly that I imagine won't play as well on a second viewing. Some of the jokes felt overdone, and it felt like Ryan Reynolds was trying too hard to be funny at times, especially in scenes that could have used a bit of tension. For example, there's this gross dog that sucks up way too much screen time and is arguably not very funny to begin with, but the bit keeps getting played again and again. The main antagonist, Cassandra Nova, suffered from this kind of constant joking. In her intro, she's revealed to be an extremely powerful villain, essentially a psychotic version of Charles Xavier, but Deadpool's jokes and mockery toned down her presence as an intimidating antagonist. For most of the film, she feels like more of a hump to get over rather than a real threat for the two main characters, which is a real shame because it's a character I honestly want to see more of. Her power to fuck with people's heads was really creepy, and it felt like something they had tried to do with Scarlet Witch, but actually succeeded with here. Honestly though, my biggest complaint about this movie might be Wolverine himself. The script seemed to demand less of him than I thought it would. As a character, it felt like he was along for the ride for the most part, not making many major decisions for the story on his own, or leading the plot in any way. And in a lot of ways, he was either there to be made fun of or praised without adding much to the scene itself. I understand they wanted to go for a more washed-up version of the character that Deadpool himself describes as,
I could tell you have a sort of don't get too close, I'll only break your heart vibe going here.
but I feel like we have seen this so many times already. And while it's fun to see Wolverine in a more comedic setting, it didn't feel like they utilized him in the way they could have. It felt too safe and overdone. And while it's always going to be awesome seeing Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I feel like if they were going to bring him back, they should have done it for a bit more of an original idea, or something riskier. There are a few scenes that slowly build to reveal Wolverine's backstory that felt like they could have used a bit more of a twist in it, but instead it comes off a little less thought out than the other parts of the film. The same could be said for Deadpool himself, though. His subplot with Vanessa felt a little forced, and having the two break up because Wade isn't saving the world enough was an odd choice. Especially being a fan of the previous two films, going back to the same plotline of Wade needing to figure something out about himself so he could be with Vanessa felt a little weak. Overall, I would say the movie needs a little bit more honest character development, as Hugh Jackman's performance is kind of suffocated behind Deadpool's constant joking. However, they do well with the scenes that are taken seriously, and it's something that the film could have just used a little bit more of. Now, I am aware that this is a Deadpool movie, but the previous two entries felt like they struck a healthier balance between the more serious tones and the slapstick comedy.
Oh, you think this is funny, huh? There's a man's reputation at stake here.
As I said, I did enjoy how aware they were of some of the issues with the multiverse storyline, and the movie does a good job mocking the idea of it. However, it doesn't really end it. Ideally, this would have been the last entry to the multiverse storyline. They could have had Deadpool tie the worlds together and finally bring it under one umbrella. However, when I walked away from this movie, I felt like I had more questions than answers when it comes to the multiverse and what's going on at Marvel.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
So on the whole, I would say that this is what the average fan of Marvel would ask for. If you want lots of jokes, gory action scenes, and a long list of Fox-owned Marvel superheroes all in one movie, you're gonna love it. And it's looking like the box office profits and reviews are gonna reflect that. It was nice to actually enjoy a Marvel movie again. While it's not perfect, it made me really laugh and enjoy myself, which is a lot more than the shit we've been getting from Marvel the last few years. There was no preachy politics, no emasculation of characters, no crap like that, which is like finding a diamond in the rough these days. It was respectful in a Deadpool kind of way, one of which I enjoyed and had a lot of fun. So to answer a short question in a long sort of way, Deadpool and Wolverine won't be enough on its own to save the whole franchise. But it's a step in the right direction. So the real question is now, will the MCU get behind Deadpool and try to switch lanes permanently? Or is this yet another blip on the heart monitor of the rotting corpse of a franchise? Nah, they'll fuck this up too. Please like and subscribe so I don't kill myself and can keep making these videos.